Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. Have you ever wondered how to transform with yoga to be able to unlock unconditional happiness? Well, today you're going to get the triple yoke. Get ready to wake up the inner giant. Good morning, Giants, and welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV.
Hey,
Yeah,
you're in it.
today is an amazing day. We've got an incredible guest, which we'll get to in just a second. And if Nick doesn't butcher her name, she got 2 out of 3 pronunciations right.
Hey,
So,
man.
and
I'm right there. 2 out of 3 is not bad.
2 out of 3. Hey, it's winning. Seems to get degrees or something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I am here. I'm Ryan Morris, and I'm the co-creator of Wake Up with Giants TV, a tribe of giants in 12 journeys coaching. And see this book right here? That's the Giants and the Smalls. Look whose name is on that bad dog. It's Nicholas Townsend Smith.
Who has 2 thumbs and has their name on a book?
Yeah, these guys.
Show yours too, man. Pull yours up on the
Oh,
screen.
she's got her book as well. Yeah. I co-wrote with a bunch of other amazing
Yeah, don't diminish this. This is a big deal.
human beings. A journey of riches.
Hold it up there a little longer, because that was like I did this thing.
A journey of riches, living the paradigm of kindness. Sorry, the light is kind of shiny, and your boy is right there.
There we go.
Right in the
Ryan
middle.
Morris. Go grab it on Amazon.
What a cutie patootie on there. Yeah, so that happened. But together we came and built this amazing platform where we could have some of the most amazing guests in the entire world. Today we have also, man, today is just an exciting day because we also have a masterclass that goes on at 11 o'clock today, Mountain Time. There's over 160 people registered for that. So if you're not registered, do so quickly. Go find us on Facebook, on a Tribe of Giants. Go find Nick Smith. It's on my wall as well. It's everywhere that you can
let me
think
drop
of.
it in the comments here.
Yeah,
I'll drop the
might as
link
well,
in.
right?
Yeah, might
And
as
if you
well.
didn't make it, get a hold of us one way or another. And if you can't make it this time, we'll have a conversation and send you a recording or a gift. We might do some other ones here in the future as well. But this week, there's going to be a bunch of us that are going to get together and radically transform lives. Stop playing small. We're going to be done with mediocrity. The end of mediocrity is, as Gary Mahler would say.
Yeah.
And if you didn't join us in Birmingham, England, which a lot of people did not, but there was about, I don't know, 250, 300, 400, I don't know how many people there were. It felt like a million that got the opportunity to hear Nick in person. And it was just a glimmer of what the Nick Smith can do. And so now you get to spend an hour and a half diving into the stuff that he talked about at the Birmingham event, the Ultimate Coach.
Yeah, to prepare to, it's going to be so much information that you want to bring your buckets, because it'll be like a fire hose and it might take the buckets out of your hands. We're trying to distill 8 weeks of information down to an hour and a half. So yeah, there'll be a lot. And even if you're not going to be able to attend, register anyway, because then we can get you the recording after we're done. So you still want to register.
Yes.
I did.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, we'll see you twice.
We know this person. Throw on the big screen. Shall we dive in here?
I think we shall. We learned the etymology of the word yoga too, so we'll probably talk about that.
I think we might. So
you introduce our guest, Mr. Nick?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, imagine beginning each day with a deep sense of presence and unwavering happiness. Marion Heil, Marion, I won't say the other one, a yoga teacher with over 30 years of experience, embodies this way of being. For Marion, yoga transcends physical poses. Man, that's a good one. It's about connecting with oneself and living fully in the moment, guided by the wisdom of Orit Sen Gupta, who says the goal is not to be good, the goal is to be happy. Marion helps us appreciate our bodies and lives, fostering mindfulness and gratitude. Marion's teachings emphasize moving beyond excessive thoughts to truly experience life's moments. Her approach is rooted in the belief that the most important relationship we have is with ourselves. And through this, we can transform our lives. Today, she will share her insights on how to cultivate this presence and connection in our everyday lives. For all of us seeking to create value in our work, improve our relationships, and live extraordinary lives, Marion's wisdom is particularly relevant. She will guide us in discovering how to embrace our being and experience the abundance life has to offer. So without further ado, let's dive into the world of the inspiring Marion Heil. Good to
Thank
have you
you.
here.
Thank you so much for having me. And I'm here to serve exactly that, to share whatever I've learned over the last 30 years of being on my way and using yoga as a tool. So that's why I'm here.
I love it. So we are going to dive in because there's probably a time we do go through the 12 journeys here. So that's why we start where we start, is these non-conscious ways of being, of who we thought we were before we became who we are today when we transformed. At some point in our past, we had another version of ourselves that was developed. It was either handed down, it was culturally developed, it was socially developed, it was created through our own ways of being, traumas, abuse, neglect, experiences. We thought we were something. And I'd love, if possible, for you to dive into your past a little bit of who you thought you were. What was life like growing up? Who did you think you were? And at what point did you have an awakening to where you are today?
Huge question.
Yeah, I like to start
We
big.
say giant.
Who did I think I was?
Hmm.
Well, before I woke up, and was that one moment of me waking up. Obviously, I mean, I'm trying to wake up every day anew, and so it's an ongoing journey. But who did I think I was? I think I was so full of thoughts that I was just hanging on for dear life, and I wasn't really. Um, I wasn't. I was so many things to so many people
Hmm.
and to so many beliefs that I held about myself
Hmm.
that I was very fragmented. I was fragmented. And and that's actually perfect to start with fragmented, because we looked up the meaning of the word yoga just before we started the show.
Yeah.
And Nick is so good about words, and I love that he always looks up the meaning of a word. So we started with, what does yoga actually mean? Where does that word come from? And the word yoga is a Sanskrit word that is one of the oldest languages, maybe the original language
Yeah.
that came about as we kind of developed into conscious beings that developed a language. So the word yoga, we looked it up, it's actually a verb. It means to connect,
Hmm.
and it means a state of oneness, to connect us back into a state of oneness. And me saying, hey, I was totally fragmented. Who was I? I was fragmented. I
Hmm.
didn't know who I was. And that's when yoga came around the corner and took me by the hand. And so I went from fragmented to oneness. And of
Hmm.
course, that's like a total journey, but it came with somebody inviting me. At the time, I was living in Los Angeles. I was working in film. It was up and down. I had work. It was intense. 12, 14-hour days. And it was super exciting, one of the most fun times of my life. And then I didn't have work. And then I fell into a hole. I didn't have my family around. And so one of my friends had this idea, hey, come to a yoga class. And I did. And I ended up moving from being so fragmented to having to hold balancing postures. Try balancing when you have a thought. A thought takes you away from being present in your body. A thought takes you away from being present in your foot on the ground. And you lose your balance.
Oh, we're going to have fun now. You just opened up a door. So before the call, we were talking about OK Go.
Yes.
And how they have a one-shot take of whatever they've set up, and they record the whole thing in one shot. And however it goes, it goes. But in most cases, they've directed it in such a way that it creates this amazing journey and outcome as well. But the whole thing as a whole is complete and beautiful.
Yeah.
So when we're thinking about the power of yoga to bring us into the presence, even in this conversation, this is what we're doing right now. If I am in a thought outside of this conversation, I'm no longer present in this conversation. And therefore, I can no longer hold my pose in this conversation. I'm somewhere else. And the power of presence, and I'll tie that back into OK Go, is we don't know where this is going to go today. We're going to follow some pathways and it's going to be beautiful. But the idea of presence is so essential to what we're creating, because it's an awareness. Presence is a full of awareness of what is. And maybe you have a take on that, and you can dive a little deeper on awareness, because awareness for us is the second journey in the 12 journeys. And it's essential because whatever's happened in the past has happened in the past. Maybe it's become part of our programming, but our awareness is what brings us into the right now so that we can transform that if we'd like to. Can you speak to that a little bit?
When you just said that, I thought of this quote. I just read it yesterday, and it says, when I live in the past, I fall into depression. And it says, when I live in the past, I fall into depression. When I live in the future, I fall into fear. And when I am in the present moment, I can handle it. And that sounds like kind of flat maybe right now. But when I think of something in the past and I'm conscious that I'm thinking in the now of something that happened in the past, then I have power over it. But when I'm thinking myself into the past, then I lose myself into it. It's like, I give you an example. So I drove home one day and I had a 1-year-old child, and I was overly tired and I fell asleep at the wheel. And I had an accident. I just drove into a tree. And after, I was traumatized, right after, I was shocked. And I kept thinking of myself waking up and my car hitting the tree. I kept having that thought over and over and over again. It was so traumatizing, so stressful. And the only way to pull myself out of the stress and the trauma was to realize that I was in my body thinking the thought of hitting the tree. So I had to pull back into the present moment. And what helped me do that was my body. Because it's so tangible. I mean, what do you or Ryan, what do we go to when we feel like, everything else is out of our control? All we can go back to is our body, because we're so used to it being like a protective shell, or like a warm coat around us, and like you, Ryan, And Nick, try it right now. Sitting here, and maybe thoughts come flitting through your mind, but without looking at your hands, without looking at them and without moving them, just feel them. Feel your thumbs and feel your index fingers and your middle fingers and your ring fingers and your little fingers. And the moment we come back into the body, we're present in the now, and the thoughts step at least into the background. If they don't, disappear completely, because we feel the body and we rest our consciousness back in the seat of the self, and the body is a tool for that. I mean, we're talking yoga.
Yeah.
Are you a practitioner of yoga?
I have gone. Andy's daughter runs classes on Thursdays, and holy crap, it kicks my ass every time. It's so hard. Like, I'm pouring sweat, and I can hold some of the poses. But if I'm thinking about anything outside of that, I'm not able to do any of the actions. Like, I have to be fully present, and my full presence is, this is really hard, and I feel like I'm gonna die. That's my full presence in it.
Now,
it's so hard.
Tell me
Yeah.
about what happens at the end of class.
Oh,
Do you practice shavasana? Do you practice relaxation?
Yeah. So she does that at the end, and I am just completely relaxed, just fully in the room.
Why? Why is that? How come you are relaxed? Is it just because you're like, you've kind of like worked yourself to fatigue? Is that it?
It feels like it. Yeah.
Do you feel fatigued
at
the end?
I feel energized at the end. I just feel relieved.
Okay. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Why do I feel? Dang it! I didn't know. You turned this around on me. Yeah,
I've never done yoga, so this is all on you.
Okay, so why is that? If I think about it, my owning my truth in it, I just feel a relief that I'm complete, that I accomplished that. I'm complete. I feel a relief that I'm done with the hard part, because it was hard.
Now, okay, I
just
take
want
that
to
as
close
an
my
answer.
eyes and yeah.
Okay,
you
want to hear my take?
Yes, I do.
So, okay, let's say you're taking 60 minutes or maybe 75 or 80 minutes, to work your way mentally back to your body, to feeling your hands on the floor, to feeling your feet on the floor, to being so present, and to filling that posture with your awareness, with your consciousness, being in your fingertips, being in the soles of your feet, filling out your body all the way to the skin. And that kind of doesn't leave that much space for all that incessant thinking going on up here. You take your consciousness, which kind of tends to accumulate up in your head, because that's where the sense organs are, and that's where the information comes in. And then there's the brain here. So the consciousness, we associate consciousness with up here, so all that thinking and that mental activity and that conscious thinking goes on in here. And then when you go to a yoga class, you actually have to take all that consciousness and let it seep down and fill it, fill your body to the brim, to the furthest parts, into the most extended parts. And that takes all of that excess, that excess energy that usually just lives up here in the form of thinking, and it gives it a place to rest in. And then when you take shavasana at the end, when you rest at the end, you are present. You're present. And then you may feel physically fatigued, but I believe that you feel energized, as you said, because you're not losing yourself in so many directions. That's actually exhausting, to follow this thought and then to follow that thought. But to just be so present in the now, That's a relief. That's a deep relief.
Can I
So this
highlight
is my
something
take.
real quick for
Yeah.
you, Marion, too? And I just wanted I it was interesting to me because I get the opportunity to sit here and watch the comments and see like real time as you're talking, and I get to listen a little bit more, just being on this end and Nick being the main interviewer a lot of times, and I was watching in real time as you have this way of when you speak to bring awareness to people, and I don't know if you even know it yourself. Maybe you do, but as soon as you talked about fragmentation and you connect to somebody's soul, and maybe some of that's through the yoga and through who you are, and we're going to get to discover more of that here in just a second. But in real time, 3 or 4 people became aware of how they were being and connected. They sent hearts. So true. It was and a comment about being fragmented as well. And then now you're pulling that of this is a way to get out of that. So I just wanted to highlight that in you, what I saw in real time that was going on here. So that's it. That's all I wanted to do.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I want to pull something up that ties into this. So before we move on from this, this is what came to mind. So the infinity symbol, and this is something I haven't looked at. We think of infinity as ongoing, this loop. But if you'll notice, the infinity symbol has a point in the middle that is the essence of us. So it loops into the past, it loops into the future, but always comes back to that point of us, right? Always. So when I think of this, when we get stuck in our past, we're not completing that infinity loop. We're staying on the left-hand side here, looping, 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 and we keep coming back to ourselves from the past. Or if we're in the future, we're looping, 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 and coming back to ourselves from the future. But the true balance is staying in between our past and our future, our experiences and our identities, and who we're creating ourselves to be. But that presence, that point, that little meeting point right in the middle is the most essential part. And that's what I hear in what you're sharing here, is that we're trying to get back to that point. There's nothing wrong with being in the future or the past. And even with your hands, you highlight, we think this thought up here and we go over here, and then you go to the past and you're like, we think this up here, and it's within that loop. Even hand gestures point to that loop where we come back to ourselves. And so to hear that the presence is really what I'm feeling after that, the Shavasana,
Exactly.
is the presence. It's that
Yes.
point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Any additional thoughts? Yeah.
When you were saying that about, just living on that end or living only on that end,
Yeah.
the thing is, like, when we look at ourselves through yoga eyes, I mean, we're perfect. We've been perfect, and we are perfect, and we will be perfect, because we're always an extension of infinite intelligence. That's who we are. And me looking at who I have been, so many people remind us, hey, everything I needed to go through, everything on that end to come to who I am right now. And this being that I am right now opens up to the understanding that everything that is to come is just as malleable as, it's a creation, just as I've created my past and I have made choices. I can go into the future and make choices. And there's nothing, that sounds weird to say that, but there's nothing wrong. I mean, let me say, an amazing experience for me was to have somebody lead me to listening to or watching near-death experiences.
Yeah. I've been hooked on these for months now on these.
And
Keep going.
and people who have gone through near-death experience, or who have died and then been revived, and they come back and they say, there is no judgment. There's only a clear view of what has been, and me seeing myself, okay, I could have done this differently, but there's no judgment. So whatever we live is an experience. I mean, that takes us to, everything being an experience until we attach meaning to it.
Yeah, yeah.
That is such a powerful realization.
And the ripple. So thinking of the ripple, the idea in the NDEs is that you get to see the positive ripples that you've made and the negative ripples. You also get to see how what you did affected the person or the situation. And all from a space of, some described it as feeling a complete love while feeling the pain of what their impact created in somebody else, positive or negative. And so that that idea that the loop, the point, is simply the impact point that we have in the life. It's like this constant hitting the water and sending ripples out, positive, negative, positive, negative. And I heard one that said, the good outweighs the bad. And I thought, how profound is that? If there were the scales of judgment and the good outweighs the bad, then it would mean that it's more good than bad. It reminds me of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, when the girl is being naughty and the squirrels all come out and they find her, she's a bad nut. They push her down the hole.
I didn't see it.
But it's like she didn't outweigh the bad. So the goal of the impact is, when you're fully present, is from that presence, what kind of ripple do I want to make in the world? And if you're stuck in your past and you feel, oh, I'm unworthy because of all these things that happened to me, and you're stuck in that, then a lot of times our ripple becomes a reflection of that. Or if you look at your future and you think I'm unworthy, and you look at your future, your ripple becomes an impact of that. But when you think you're, like you said, non-judgmentally, I'm okay, I'm a good person, I want to create positive ripples in the world, then that's what comes out of you. But only when you're fully present can you choose that versus react to it. Does that tie in?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying that I'm always fully present or fully conscious of my choices and the consequences. I mean, that is actually the
I don't know
amazing part.
if anyone can be fully, like, always, constantly. I don't think it's possible.
No,
It'd be exhausting.
I mean, that's the perfection of it, in my opinion. That I'm relieved of this guilt or guilty feeling of having to control everything, because those ripples, I don't know, I can't control those ripples. I don't even know whether something that seemingly hurt another person in the moment that I did, what that will have an effect on them, what kind of an effect that will have on them. I don't know. I cannot control that. That is beyond my control. So I think it's a huge relief to think of, to kind of judge between good and bad all the time, but to just say, hey, my intention is to be present, to make choices that take me from where I am in a good direction, the next step in a good direction. That's all I can do. And even when I veer off, I don't know what that veering off will produce for other people in terms of consequences. I mean, people
I'm
who have
having
hurt
such a
me,
vision of it. Yeah.
the most important things, the most important lessons, and the things that may have pushed me the furthest in my development, in my desire to grow and become better, have been things that have hurt me deeply, where I felt hurt by somebody else. And then maybe for a while I was like, they did that to me and they were blah, 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 and I'm angry and blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, this energy is like a constant reminder, that I'm running like a train off tracks. When I'm on the track, then it's an easy ride. But when I'm off track, it's like bumpy and unpleasant. And this negativity that, I may have been feeling for a while, feeling that somebody hurt me or did something bad or whatever, it gives me kind of like a slingshot maneuver possibility to turn that around and say, hey, what do I want to create from that? I love Steve Hardison saying, given that situation, what do you want to create from here? I mean, to really take any point, like Abraham Hicks says, you have like a navigational system, and the navigational system doesn't say, damn, how come you're here? You should be somewhere else.
That would
It
be
should.
off-putting.
Yep. That would be funny. I would want that. What
Instead,
the
it
hell are
says,
you
You're
doing?
so dumb. You turned left. I told you to turn right.
yeah, hey, we wouldn't be customers of that service long.
Yeah.
Instead, we're so happy to have the system that just says, hey, no big deal. This is where you are. Okay, you took the wrong exit. No problem. Reroute. We'll just reroute. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? This is where you are. Where do you want to go? So it's always this point that you're referring to between, like
Yeah.
the loop on one and on the other end. It's like it's always a new starting off point.
Yeah.
Every moment I have a new starting off point.
We call it the X. So
Okay.
years ago, I'll tell this story briefly and then we'll tie it in. My brother gave me a stone that had a perfect X in it. It's a crystal, it's got crystal X in it. And so, symbolically, he said, this is where you're at. It's okay that you are where you are. You're in the right space. You're doing the right things, taking the right steps. And that's true. I mean, we're essentially wherever we are on the map is the X. It's also where we're going. It's also what comes from us. It's the number, or it's the letter in the alphabet that can symbolize just about anything. X equals in a math equation. X
Word
can
and
be
Totally.
sign on a
squared.
contract.
That's
Yeah.
so true.
So X is the most profound letter of this is where you are. This is where you're going. This is what you're doing. This is what it means. It's everything. It's a definition that means everything. So we use it, as in our world, just to symbolize you're better than you think. You're doing better than you think. And you're exactly where you need to be. You're right on time. You're doing what you need to be doing. So in that infinity symbol, at the center of it, there's an X. And at the point of that X is you. And it's not, to judge it as right or wrong, good or evil, all of that, just that's where we start to throw our interpretations and judgments about what has happened on it. I think of, the impact, the ripple point. You don't have control over the ripples, how they reflect out, but you do have control over the ripple you put into the water. And some of us go about gently touching the water and creating small ripples. And some people are like cannonball, right? And they're just full on in. And that water's just like, boom, and it just ripples out. And there's no right or wrong in it. They're just ways of entering the water. But no ripple happens until you enter the water. And I think many of us play so safe. That statistic I shared when I spoke, that 95% of people will never hit their dreams. 95%, which is astonishing to me. That means they never even got in the water, or they got in the water and they quit. And the goal is to just resiliently get back, keep getting back in the water, keep making ripples, because you don't know how those are going to impact. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts around that. Do you have additional thoughts that come up?
When you said 95% never make their dream come true or never live their dream, and I thought, well, that's where the challenge lies for me, because I don't want to live with a dream hanging in front of me like a carrot. I don't want to do that. That's exactly why I'm saying my interest is to bring people, or myself mostly, and along with me, other people, back to now, because I can handle now. And if I handle this one moment, this one conversation right now, if I can handle that honestly and from a place of I don't want to use like big words, but if I can really be true to this moment and not try to come up with a smart answer, not to try and be witty, not try and entertain anybody, but to really just handle this one moment and let it be, feel that I'm listening to you, feel that I'm responding to your question, then that makes me very complete. It makes me unconditional. I don't want to live from constant conditions of when I have that, when I've reached this, then I can be happy. I honestly want to be happy now and now. And this is my job. And I'm just practicing being less conditional. So I'm not saying that people shouldn't have dreams or use their imagination. I think imagination is the most wonderful, powerful force in the universe. And it's fun, fun, fun. But I don't want to use it against me. I don't want to use it to create pressure from. I want to use it to be playful with.
Oh, there's so much power in that. So much power.
So much.
The requirements, the conditions. This is where suffering happens. When we set a new vision or dream, and then we start to measure ourselves against that new ideal. Now we've created a space for ourselves to create our own suffering because we're not measuring up to this new ideal that we have. And then also what we do is we create the ideal and then we set requirements for us to be able to reach that. Well, I need this for me to be able to do that,
Exactly.
or I need that for me to be able to do that. So for happiness, let's say that your vision is happiness. And then you say, I am going to set the requirement that this needs to happen for me to be happy.
And we're screwed.
We're screwed.
When
Exactly.
all along you could just choose to be happy. You could just be happy.
Take the shortcut.
Yeah.
Just do
Here
it.
you are.
Nike had it right the whole time. Just do
Mike
it.
did have it right. But the idea there is that when you're not letting go of the vision, you're letting go of the conditions of the vision. You're letting go of the how, the timing of it. I have created so much suffering in my life because it needed to happen this way. It needed to happen in this time frame. It needed to happen by this person. And then it, in almost every case, didn't happen that way. And I was disappointed because my way wasn't the way, right?
Me too.
You just raise your hand. Yeah.
Yes.
Everyone at home. Yeah, well.
Once in a while. Yeah. That has happened. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way through, let's talk about the detachment. This is a weird construct here. Attachment, because I think there's a level of attachment to your vision that has you pursue it, a fascination. We'll talk about that today in the training, to fixate or fascinate with this vision. And so there's, in some form, this ideal called attachment, which doesn't exist. It's a human construct. So we create attachment in ourselves, but as an objective measurement, there is bonding. We can see that chemically in humans, but attachment is a construct. It's this ideal that we have to have something. And in the creation of dreams and visions, there's also an attached detachment that I don't care if it ever comes true. I would love to have a movie. One day I have the dream and the vision that there will be a movie. Mm-hmm. I'm attached to that. I'm also detached from if it ever happens. I'm detached from when it happens or how it happens. Can you talk about that? Do you have some ideas there?
I think you said something before that made me think of what I'm about to say, like the small and the giant. Those two, like when we're talking yoga and when we're looking once again at this infinity symbol, let's say on the one side, the small, and on the other, the giant. And when you merge the two, then you once again find yourself in the center, seated in the seat of the self, or whatever you want to call it.
I love that.
But let's say when you say you have this dream, a movie would be awesome. I can see it. It would be so fun. And then you have this gigantic vision, and it may be like, wow, how am I going to get there? And instead of coming from the place of not being there and all of that way to get there and all of that work to get there, instead coming then from, hey, I'm here and I'm taking a small step, and that small step that I can handle, and that I can master. And that gives me joy to just make that one small step, that one thought, that one conversation, that one gaze at somebody, make that good and satisfying and full in and of itself. And then the next tiny little step, make that full in and of itself and make it juicy and fun and be the end all, so to speak. And then make the next small step the end all. And that
You're
takes
hitting
us.
on a you're hitting on a key here, and I want to highlight this, and then I want you to remember where you left off. But step. You keep saying step. Nothing happens if nothing happens. And it seems to be, I don't know if that's a condition that I've placed on myself, that nothing happens if nothing happens, but there seems to be this construct in the universe that, almost like by the sweat of your brow you shall eat your bread. There has to be some activity, but we get into the idea that we have to take major activity all the time. And we say in the giants world, giants still take small steps. They're just bigger. They're still taking steps. And some days you might take small steps, and some days you might jump in like a cannonball. And some people are every day's a cannonball. And I know some of them. Yeah, there's one.
Here's one of the guys.
No, every day's a cannonball.
Yeah, he's talking about possibilities with Irish guys that walked out of a bar. I mean, it could happen.
It could happen, but all things are possible. But the key that I want to hit on is the action. The step creates the ripple. Without the action, there's no ripple. And whether it's a small ripple or giant ripple, without the action or the step, there's no ripple. And it's that ripple that goes out and creates. And I think the imagination is part of that ripple. Is once you start to imagine it, you start to bring it into this reality. You take that ethereal and you make it material. That's the first step. But that imagination is limited to who you think you are. And so many of us are limiting ourselves. The 95% that never reach their dreams is because they don't think they can. And so that's what comes out of them. And it just breaks my heart that it's that high, that 95%. I look around the world, and I look at people, and I'm like, are you part of the 95% or the 5%? And it's not as a judgment. It's just, man, you have no idea what you're capable of. If you only knew, you wouldn't play so small,
Yeah. Okay.
Was that a lot to unpack there?
No, it was just perfect because Steve Hardison chimed in and reminded us of, that what we heard and spoke of all weekend long last weekend. It's the being behind the doing that has the most power, because I can come from small being, from small thoughts and beliefs that I hold about myself, and be a cannonball and jump into the lake and create a huge giant ripple, but it's not maybe going to bring the results that I wish for, or it's going to be so gross, me being a cannonball, that that I don't have real control over it. I'm overdoing it. I'm not really being appropriate to what is needed in the situation. So, I mean, there can be a lot of compensation going on if I'm not coming from a deeper place in my doing, if I'm not coming from the being. And I think what I'm talking about with yoga is really to take me back to a place of this place that we're talking about, the spot, the center of the X, the place of presence, the place of not going into, the past, or not jumping forward into the future. It's just a place of non-judgment, not judging. You can call it forgiving yourself for stuff that has happened in the past, or not judging, for what you think of what you might be capable in the future. It's just being loving,
Mm.
being loving toward myself in the present moment will always be the best starting off point for any action. I mean, if I don't come from a loving and present place within myself, then I think the action I'm going to take will always be either too much or too little, and it will not be as powerful that it could
Mm.
be. So, yeah, I understand that you're saying, hey, I need to take steps. I need to take actions toward my dreams. I need to, um, I, I don't want to be a failure.
Mm.
But when I think that way, I think that the danger is to come from a place of fear.
Mm.
And when I'm coming from a place of fear, hey, shit, I'm 60 years old. I may never get to where I want to be, I financially or career wise or relationship wise. If I'm coming from that place of, oh my God, 95% never reach their goal, it's like, I'm done.
Mm.
I think coming from that place of fear, nothing good can come of it. And that's why I'm
Ooh.
refusing to go there.
Mm.
That's why I'm saying the giant and the small, they meet somewhere, if I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
bring the two together. I mean, that's what yoga actually is. Like,
Ooh, I
okay,
like that.
let me get back to hatha yoga. Most people in the West actually practice hatha yoga. And ha means the sun, and ta means the moon. So
Mm.
you have polarities. And it's like the doing and the being. The sun is the doing, the active, the day. What am I going to do during the day? And then the moon is the being, being restored, letting go and letting something come through me, the night. And only when yoga happens, when I overcome the duality,
Mm.
when I don't look at these things as like, discrepancies, but I can merge them. This sounds a little esoteric, I know, but it's like I want to bring the attention to, hey, my power lies in my next thought,
Mm.
who I think I am. When I think I am small in this moment, then everything that comes from that will bring a small result. And when I'm being in that place of thinking, hey, I'm perfect right now where I'm at, then I'm not coming from fear. And then something powerful can be created from that. That's why I'm so hesitant to follow you when you say, hey, I don't want to be one of those 5%. I
Mm.
don't want to be one of those 95% who never reach their dream. So many people have reached their dreams in our society and they're not happy because they
Yeah.
had the dream of, hey, I'm going to be happy when I have $1 billion. I'm going to be happy when I have that beautiful relationship. So taking all of that
Ooh, I like
pressure
that.
off and bringing it back to, hey, can I be happy now with exactly what is? That's why I love Byron Katie. You
Yeah.
know, loving what is, that's a powerful place.
Okay. You've opened me up here.
Thank
So
you.
I'm pulling this symbol back up. Think about like what you just shared, the sun and the moon, the giant and the small.
Yeah,
They're not separate. They're not in groups and out groups. They're not distinctions of one's better than the other. They're joined by the yoke. So going back to the idea of yoga is the joining or the yoke. And the
yeah,
symbolism of this is that it looks a lot like a yoke. It joins one thing to another. And
exactly.
our who we thought we were, our entire past created who we are today and who we think we are today. And our future will create us into who we'll be tomorrow. But our past and our future are yoked by us at the center, our centering. And so to hear like what you shared about I don't want to follow you down the path of making the 95% wrong for not reaching their dreams. My intention is not to make them wrong. It's embracing the smallness and the giantness that's in us. We all have the 95% in us. We all have the 5% in us. We have the ability to do great things. We have the ability to do small things. And in our life, we've done small things. They don't diminish who we are as a whole. They're yoked to our presence and our future. And so I can also hear what you're saying there is, I don't want to make people wrong for being in the 95%. I get that. What I do want to do is wake people up that they have the ability to be part of that 5% as well. But to create shame and guilt over what is, that's where our suffering comes in. And like you said with Byron Katie, she strives to love what is. She also loves what was. She also loves what could be. And in that loves what is. And in the Giants journey, we know that you're going to play small in areas. You're going to be giant in other areas. You're going to take small areas and move them over to the giant. You're going to take giant areas and sometimes fall back to playing small. Like it's all part of this cycle, right? As a whole, if we step back from it, if you look at a tree, it's bifurcated and branched, and individually, if you zoom in, it's very ugly and it looks like it's failing because it went down one pathway, it stopped, and it went down another. But you zoom out and you look at the tree and you see the beauty of the creation. And that's how humans are. So I hope I haven't portrayed that people are wrong, but I can hear that as well in what you're sharing. Any other thoughts on that?
I hope it didn't come off as me thinking that you are intent on making one better than the other, because it's a constant development. I'm constantly developing.
I feel like you said it.
Clarify that.
Yeah, I feel like you said it. I feel like you said it in such a gentle way of honoring the moon and the sun, of honoring the small and the giant, of honoring the 95% and the 5%, of honoring all of it. And the common thread is that yoga, or yoking, the joining together of those two worlds, the defragmenting of those areas of our lives. I felt like you were very gentle around it. I didn't feel like it was what you just shared. So yeah, you did a great job there.
I mean, if we weren't born with all that potential to grow into, I mean, we can say we start small by having small ambitions, hey, I just want to be able to crawl.
Yeah.
I just want to be able to get up. I just want to be able to walk one day. I mean, these are like tiny ambitions. Looking at a life, oh my God, they just wanted to crawl, but one step, one desire, one desire led to a development, and that led to the next possibility. And at the same time as I'm saying that we start out with these small ambitions, with smallness, I'm saying, hey, what can you think of that is more perfect than a newborn or a baby? Watching a baby, like the first year, what gigantic steps babies make in that first year of development. So it's that's where yoga to me expresses that beautifully, this ha, the doing, and the ta, the being, and the the hey, we have to act, or hey, maybe we just have to let go. Both are part of perfection. Just as a baby with his or her tiny ambitions and thoughts and a tiny horizon maybe is super perfect. Everything is there. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I also teach pregnant women, and it's amazing. They don't do a thing, and this perfect being develops within them.
Yeah.
And if they started meddling, it may not go that well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
true. Right.
isn't that amazing?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
It just happens because we let it happen.
Hmm.
So there's, I tend to come back to this very yogic view of the world, which sees the giganticness in the small, and which allows small things within, gigantic dreams or
Hmm.
ambitions. So I tend to, I notice that about myself. I tend to always try to merge these, and bring them to, hey, it's amazing the way it is, the way this all allows for either or both. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
love that. I would wonder, there's somebody on the other side of the screen here watching, a lot of somebody's, but we'll talk to the individual. Our focus is if we can impact one person, and this is borrowed. I love this by 1%. If we can impact one person by 1%, whether it's through this show or any other way, then to me, I'm going to count that as a success. That's where we really have an impact in this world. And who knows how that will impact others? Because I have no idea where that ripple is going to go. But there's another person on the other side of this screen that's watching this, having some aha moments, having some realizations for themselves from this conversation. And I would wonder from you, if you were to talk to them directly through the screen here and share a piece of wisdom or a thought that could really impact them, what would you share right now? What immediately comes to mind?
well, two things come to mind. One is practical. What can I
Hmm.
do to put myself into that state, of, you know, not noticing that I'm fragmented, not noticing that I'm, stuck somewhere in small thoughts, or stuck in, thinking I'm not good enough to reach this gigantic dream. One practical thing I want to offer, and that is, it's very simple for me, and I think for anybody, and we can try, the three of us can try this again here right now live. The easiest thing that puts us back into now and out of the pressure is to just exhale. It's like,
Hmm.
when I just exhale, it seems ridiculously simple,
Hmm.
but it just takes the pressure off. And at the end of an exhalation, there's actually a magical place. And
Hmm.
the second easy thing for, taking me back into the present moment when I'm feeling fragmented and maybe caught in my beliefs about myself, negative ones, limiting ones, to just come back to being, is to not move my hands and to not do anything with my hands, but to just feel them and let my
Hmm.
attention flow. You can do that right now. Flow it from your head through your arms into your hands, into
Hmm.
your one finger pair and second finger pair. And just to return to being instead of being caught in thinking.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the last thing of these three practical things is to, and try this now, sit and feel your feet on the ground and feel your butt on the chair or whatever you're sitting on, and then lean back a little bit so that you feel the back of your body and maybe the back of your head. And it sounds really weird what I'm about to say, but see if you can let your eyes, your eyeballs fall backwards into the back of the head. And that gives you a non-focused gaze. It lets your gaze become actually peripheral,
Hmm.
and it becomes all encompassing. It doesn't become judgmental, like, okay, this is what I'm looking at, this is valuable and everything else is not valuable. No, I'm going into this peripheral gaze where everything is equally, it just equally is. It's a yoga gaze.
Hmm.
That's just something practical to bring us back to being present instead of being caught in opinion, judgment, thought. And the last thing, I have this written out, and I didn't know if it was going to come up, but this, when I'm fragmented, I kind of tend to feel alone.
You won't believe this. Keep going.
But I'm going to do something, right? And you probably know this. And this is what my therapist did for me a long time ago. And it was like, wow, I'm going to cut this one word into two. And what does it say now?
All one.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I can think of myself as being alone in one moment. And actually the same word read differently, looked at differently, means, hey, we're all one. I'm all one, I'm one. I'm not all alone, but I'm all one. This, I love when I go back to that one.
There are no accidents. I ended a call this morning right before jumping on here with someone who was talking about being alone. Like literally just feeling the pressure of that, and asked me that question just before I wrapped up my call with them, and I gave my version. And then we come on here and you talk about this. I'm like, this is for her. I'm going to send this over. It's powerful. There are no accidents. I think, as much as we think we're alone, we're all one, we're all connected, and more connected than we think. And so it's amazing that this message, at the end here really came in and dialed this in. I'm going to send this over and say, you need to watch this, especially at the end. We're never really alone. We have the perceptions that we're alone, and then we isolate, and it's not very healthy for us to do that. They say it's like smoking cigarettes. It's as hard on the heart to be alone, or in that construct of alone, as it is to do that. And so the all one, recognizing that we're not alone, we're never really fully alone, is powerful. I think it's a way of healing. So I appreciate you bringing that in. Ryan, do you have some final thoughts here?
Yeah, just quick, because again, there are no accidents. It's interesting. I had a conversation while in Birmingham with Sanika, and had an opportunity to sit with him and be present with him, and asked him about, essentially the long and short of the conversation was, I've hit a mountain without a top. I've hit a pinnacle or this place in my life where, okay, I've gone so far, but then I feel like I'm stuck, or I hit a wall, or whatever. And I think we all go through those plateaus or these valleys. And him and I talked about commitment and some things, and I made a commitment and ripped up a piece of paper. And the long and short is that I did that for me. I made an inner commitment to just start putting my toe in the water again, and start doing some cannonballs, and and start moving forward, and creating my ripple, or the ripples again, because it felt like that the lake was calm as glass, and there wasn't a whole lot of ripples going out from Ryan the lion. And last night he asked me to start journaling some of my reason why. And I talked about, in part of it, that my paperwork to go to Birmingham, I looked down at my passport, and it was expired 3 weeks before I came. I knew it was expired a little bit before that, but 3 weeks before it was going to happen, the event, I still didn't have a valid passport. And everybody that I talked to said that this is not possible. You're not going. Good luck. They laughed. Said, well, we'll see at work on that day. And I have the number 8 on my license plate. It's end caps on 1111. I have 8 11 11 8 is my license plate. And 8 days after turning in my passport showed up. And last night I wrote and talked about the infinity sign. I have the number 8 on my license plate to remind me of infinity, that all things are possible, that I am infinite divine intelligence connected to source, God. So it was fitting that it was 8 days later. And that's just an excerpt. I just sent that to you, Nick, too.
That's awesome.
There are no accidents. That we are right on time. We are the infinite. We are the X. I love, Marion, how you brought us back to presence, to center. Yoga can do that. Breathing can do that. There's a host of different ways to do that, and they're so beautiful because it all reminds us of who we are truly. The power that we hold inside. If we only knew, it's the Chris Doris shake that Steve Hardison does in TBOLIT NFL. If you only knew, you wouldn't ask me that question. It's the waking up. It's wake up the giant. The giant is you. The small is you. You were never not giant, and you're never small. You're you, and it's beautiful. It's amazing, and you had such a powerful way of bringing that in today, that I'm appreciative of who you're being. It's life changing, and you'll continue to make ripples. You made a ripple in my world today, so thank you so much.
Beautiful. Marion, thank you so much. Thanks for being here. I love the show. The way it went, it was beautiful. It went in directions we didn't even imagine. So I love that. For those that are watching, we're so grateful.
Hi, Nick. I buried you in a comment. There he is.
That's a big comment. We're so grateful for, those that are watching and sharing these videos with others. You make this a possibility. We are creating a world of giants. We went from this grand vision of, let's impact 100 million lives. And, over the past few weeks, we've realized it's not about 100 million. It's about the one. If we can impact one life with this video, we're successful. And just by a small degree, even 1% impact makes all the difference in the world for that one person. So thank you for being a part of this. I hope that we've impacted you. If you know somebody that would be impacted by this message, go to YouTube, go to Facebook, share it, send it to them and tell them why they should watch it. And we have over 260, I think we're pushing 270 interviews like this on our channel, and all equally powerful. And so I invite you to go dive down the rabbit hole on Wake Up with Giants TV, because there are some incredible messages in there. And Marion, you just joined the ranks of those people, and we're so grateful for you. So thank you for being on with us.
Thank you.
For
My
everybody
pleasure.
Ours too. We're grateful. For everybody that's watching, we love you. We're grateful for you. Go make it a giant day, and we will see you in the next video.
Love you too.
Thank you.